don't have a lot of that around here. You know, so you
Right,
have to
okay.
mix and match. And look, I'm like, oh, did you get dressed in the dark this morning?
I talked to Natalie this afternoon.
I mean, you're invisible, but
They're ready to do a daytime. So, as soon as Crystal gets me her write-ups and stuff, not so long. You could.
everything I have.
I should have brought. So yeah, that's I'm on that one. Yeah.
Castroville is like everything. I mean, I can't have second on the early, but for some reason, it's got to do a very first grade
It still falls underneath the class of it. No, it's not. I've been on it for 10 years now.
I have most of the bottle. I haven't really taken it.
Yeah. I take.
Take some with me.
Yeah. I mean, with everything on there, he's a smart. He's lucky.
It's not there, it just turns slow into it.
Yeah.
You don't have to put it out there.
No. Calms all the nerves and everything.
Tramadol's going with me this weekend to my board meeting.
And I.
Survivors Association board meeting on Wednesday.
And it's. I'm on 2 a day, and then if my nerve damage if it had breakthrough pain, then I'm allowed to take 2 additional. So, but, no, but it does settle down. No, it's, yeah.
I'm worried about a dependency on time.
I do too.
Stephanie's not going to be back in
That's funny.
That part, yeah. I know, that's what we're looking at. Okay, great. We can probably get it done tomorrow. It's got to stick with the county. After we get this on here, the county there will be scared of receiver. That one, in fact, let me check with okay, find out that they'll take a check. Yeah, they will. Almost new fashion. Yeah. Understandable. They don't take gold. We still got a couple minutes. Like I said, I know the question is, are you local? I put it on there and I'll take it
Having issues drinking
That's right, to take this with me. We did took my daughter up to Gonzales County. I have about 110 acres acre strip of land, I think, in the state of Texas. It's got 640 acre here, 640 acre here, 642 below it. A league, which is 4,700 acres above it, and another one below it. Those go back to the 1830s. The 640 acre surveys were done in the 1850s, 1870s. And when they did the two in the middle, they did not state that they reached the north end of the lake, but the other two did, and their distances were 40 hours short, which is 111 feet. I get out there and it's more like 300.
Wow.
And the problem is that the rancher whose property this is on, who's had it in the family for generations, they're talking about putting a home over there. I said, don't do it now, don't do it later, because when you buy this from the state today, they don't sell you anything on the surface. All the minerals will go to the state. So you can get a lease on the property to put the well in there. You can get a lease for the pipeline to get the oil off your property. The state's going to get all the revenue for the oil. So it's probably not worth your while.
Yeah.
Run the pipeline across it, that's great. Don't drill well there. 600 feet either side.
The whole system. She has tripwires everywhere over here, man.
The jacket, the shirt.
Man, I'm getting crazy tonight. I left the green blazer at home, though.
Had trouble?
Glad you could make it, sir.
Yeah. Down to the wire.
Had us voting in a block of 3, so one dissenting vote.
Hello. Somebody tell
The mayor gets to make the decision.
Y'all are compressed tonight.
Expect twice as much out of you. I'll share. If you touch the text screen, it makes that you on the left go That was easy to read.
6 o'clock.
Yowza.
Sorry.
Carried away.
We're going to call the regular called meeting to order at 6 p.m. tonight. Let the roll call reflect that Mayor Sontleben is absent, and as the Mayor Pro Tem, I'll be performing as the chairman of the meeting. Also like to let the minutes reflect that Mr. Elliott, the city administrator, and Deborah Howe, the city secretary, are both here, as well as Mr. Habib Erkan, the city attorney. All the other members of the council are present. I stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor the
Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Pastor McConnell.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening asking that you continue to put a blessing upon the city of Castroville. Lord, we pray for our city council, we pray for our mayor, we pray for our police department, for all of our businesses, for our schools, for all of the constituents, Lord, that you will continue to bless us and guide us in all that we do, and that we will stay focused on loving our neighbor as ourselves and serving you in all that we do. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Item number 5, the consent agenda. Any comments or corrections to the July 9th regular called city council meeting? We'll start down there on the right side.
Abstention, I wasn't here.
Negative.
Anybody like to make a motion to?
Make a motion, we accept meeting minutes as is.
Is there a second?
Second. Either one.
Todd's the second.
Todd.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay.
One abstaining.
One abstain, 4-0. They're approved. Okay, item number 6, citizens' comments. Mr. Lee, you know the routine.
Well, I'm old enough now, I'm forgetting. My name is Bob Lee, 1314 Gentiles. I see you guys, good evening, council, staff. I see you have an item on the agenda for a development agreement. Good idea. This brings up the eternal question here, how big should Castroville be? And with the amount of development that's coming to the east side, exactly right. It's coming to the east side. I think I need to change the question is how big can Castroville afford to be? As you all know, we have a very large CCN, and the ETJ goes all the way to the Medina County line. And we are at a critical time. Y'all are it. We're at a critical time where hard decisions have to be made concerning whether we can financially afford to take in all those areas or not. We know for a fact much of our operating revenues from utility, primarily electricity. It helps fund a lot of the general fund revenue. We transfer about $750,000 or so, which is fine. It's an investment the citizens have in utility system. But we get a very, very, very small percentage of all that utilities, as you well know, electric that comes to our east, which is not, even if it's in our city limits. The question is, can we afford to sustain our operations in the city if we don't have that electric revenue? You know, everybody seems hell-bent for leather to want to bring in all these houses and everything, but if you don't have commercial to help offset that to a large extent, I think we could get ourselves into a really, really, really bad situation. And so I think on y'all's agenda in the next 6 months or so, try to get a handle on how many rooftops, what the cost's going to be, when the sewer plant is going to run out of capacity, and you have to plan for another plant, which takes forever, and exactly how much commercial you have to have in order to keep everything going well. There's a lot of cities that are bankrupt in the United States. Let's not be one of them. So there's some hard decisions that may have to be made to say, sorry, but we're going to have to not take you into our city. I hope that's not the case, but you all really, really need to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Would anybody else like to speak? Please state your name and your address, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Don't worry. Connie Green, 1501 Mexico Street. Mine is real small compared to his. We need a stop sign. We need 2 stop signs. On Mexico Street all the way down, there's only one area in which there's not a 4-way stop, and that is right there at the elementary school, where all the kids come back and forth. We have stop signs on Petersburg, but we do not have stop signs. There's no 4-way stop or the 2 additional signs on Mexico Street. So we are asking you to please look at that and please put the stop signs in for the safety of the children. And there are several other people here tonight that are supporting that as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Schroeder?
Hi, Darren Schroeder, 1410 Gentiles. So I have 2 things. One, I saw on the agenda item that you're talking about Clay Benford and his participation in the economic development, or on the agreements. Great job. He's done a great job in the county, and so I applaud you in looking at that. It's good. The other one is in my capacity on the Parks and Recreation Board. I want to make sure that we are clear. There was a comment made about us doing negotiations on behalf of the city or city staff. We are not doing negotiations, but what we're doing is we're empowering. There's a group of people that came to us, spoke with the mayor, spoke with the Parks Board, spoke with city staff about heating the swimming pool. They wanted to heat it specifically because they wanted to get club swim in. And to get some real lessons, give the kids a chance to really have a year-round swimming program. The only way that they could accomplish that is by heating the pool. Lots of challenges, lots of potential roadblocks, lots of risks that we're having to work through the mitigation, but they've got a great plan together. If they can accomplish it, it's going to be a great thing. Hopefully they'll be able to get it done within time to support also the school district. so that they don't have to bus those kids all the way over to UTSA, which is what they're faced with this year. But we will get it, as a Parks Board, we'll get it to a point where we believe that we've addressed all of your concerns, and we'll make a recommendation either to move, our recommendation for you to move forward and vote on it, or a recommendation to kill it. So just want to let you know it's great. We got great citizen support. We had 22 citizens out for our last board meeting in support of this, and so they're really working hard to work through the details. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the board. You can attend our next board meeting as well. We're going to be talking through it. So that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? I saw some other hands. Kyle, you're next on the agenda. Are you talking to citizens' comments?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I know you have, Kyle McVeigh, 307 Madrid. I know you have this flyer in your packet, but it's not part of my presentation, so I just wanted to give you a little heads up that when I picked up the citywide yard sale banner, the pieces were all there. And I'm just asking if you'll, when you're in your budget discussion, because the banner is at least 6 or 7 years old. I've patched it together for the last 2 years. This past time, the ropes all broke, and I thought, okay, I'll just ask to see if we can move forward with replace it exactly as is, the quotes on the back. So just to think about it, please. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Darn Texas Sun.
Anybody else? No one else wishes to speak? Okay, citizens' comments end at 6:09. We'll move on to item number 7. This is an information presentation by Kyle McVeigh for support of the Nip and Tuck Spray Neuter Program.
Again, Kyle McVeigh, 307 Madrid. I'm not going to go through all of this because hopefully you've read it, and I'm here to answer any questions concerning it. But we do need your help now. We've been doing this program for since 2009, and we've never asked the city, any of the cities or any of the county for any support. But funding has changed with our main funder, San Antonio Area Foundation. But they've done it with all the small nonprofits. And anybody that has a budget of only $40,000 to $74,000, the max you can get now is $8,000. Well, that's a $12,000 deficit for our program. Our program covers, is year-round for qualifying Medina County residents. And in your one little packet that has how many animals have been, in that time frame, have been fixed in Castroville, you can add to that another 526 because we were starting with Castroville in 2006. So 2006 to 2011, an additional 526 animals were spayed or neutered by our local vets. So technically Castroville has had 1,294 little animals fixed. That's a lot of little litters not being made. So we would appreciate your support. We're asking the same amount for every city that we go to. We are trying to get other funds from other areas, but it's just really going to throw us in the bind if we can't get some help from the cities right now. And we're just asking for $2,000 from each city. Do you have any questions, gentlemen,
Let's
ladies?
start down here. Sheena, do you have any questions?
Have you gotten any feedback from the other cities yet? Have you-
No, because all of you are in budget right now, and so I'm trying to get to everybody during their budget process so it can be planned for.
What's
But
the drop dead that you need to have the money by? Or do you have a,
we don't, because we have our funds. The way it works with the foundation is we had gotten the funds in last year around December, so our funds have carried us through, and we'll actually have everything scheduled up into December.
okay.
So we're good for that.
Do you charge anything to the actual client who comes in?
Yes.
Okay.
We've learned from past deals that if people put some money in, they'll show up for the
Pick up
clinics.
their cat.
And they show up, and
Okay.
it's, yes, but our fee is, right now, we had to go up from, when we started at $25 an animal, to 50 because the SNAP's mobile clinic went up over $1,000 on a charge to us.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. That's all.
Jesse?
So how much do you charge? I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
We charge, right now, we're charging $50 per animal.
For it to be spayed?
Spayed or neutered, dog or cat, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much they weigh or anything like that.
And how much is that a savings, like if they just went to a vet?
If they go to a normal vet anywhere now, depending on the size of the dog in particular, most of them, for dogs, it's anywhere from $200 to $300. For cats, it's at least $150. That's just the beginning. If you have anything additional done, like extra shots or anything like that, you pay more.
Yeah, but just for the spade, it's what you had said there, what, 250 up?
For a dog, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
No further questions. Thank you. Thank you.
I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
Is there any connection or affiliation between your organization and the animal control staff of the city? Do you have a working relationship?
No, we don't.
Is there a reason that we don't have that? Is that the way you prefer it, that you be totally separate?
At this time, we've had some issues, and yes.
Okay. And I didn't see any recommendation from the staff regarding the money. And as you know, we're in budget process, so it's very difficult for us to make any budget decisions at this moment. But I think it would be worthwhile to try to initiate some discussion with the city administrator and try to help the city staff to formulate a recommendation before
Okay.
this comes back to the council for action. Tonight it's just information.
Exactly.
But before it comes back to the council for an actual vote on your request for money, it'd be good for the council to hear the city staff's recommendation on that request.
So you would recommend that I go to the...
City administrator.
Okay.
And discuss with him the details of your program, and let him have an opportunity to discuss it with the finance director, and see if we've got resources that we can get on, we can find, that we can do. We'll know pretty quick because we're building a budget.
Right, I understand. I will do.
I'm sorry, I had something just came up. If you went from $50 flat fee to double it, say to 100, what do you think that would do to your response? Would people still use you to the same
Not
degree?
as much, no. Our mission...
Have you done a survey to find?
Oh, yeah. Who we're trying to reach are people that are on a lower fixed income, rescued the animal, and pretty much that. And a lot of them even have a hard time now with $50.
Yeah, I can understand that, but I didn't know if you had looked into that to help them by increasing your fees to help offset some of this.
Well, the more, they give us flack now from going from 25 to 35 to 50.
Right.
But as I said, the mobile clinic that we use 8 months out of the year, they went from charging us $2,000 per clinic to $3,000. So even when we got a $20,000 grant, it was used up by SNAPs in 8 months. And then, the extra charge that we put to the clients turned right around and went back into the grant fund, and was used to add additional clinics, and then we used the veterinarians for 4 months out of the year. So no, we've tried to...
Because I was just asking that because, it's to their benefit, but it's also to everybody else's benefit that we don't have
Right.
a couple extra $1,000 running around. So it's not just to their benefit, but my question was asked primarily because it is their animal who they're supposedly responsible for.
It is, but so many of the people that have come to us, their animals have been dumped on them, and they live, I would say, good 80 to 85% of the people that we deal with, they live outside the city limits. They live on the little roads right outside of town. People come, dump the animal, and speed away. And these people have animals. They'll take them in, but they just can't afford the additional cost of the spay or neuter. But they're willing to take them in and feed them and take care of them. because they're hanging around in the whole bit, so. But
Okay.
I understand.
Thank you very much for what you did.
well, we appreciate y'all listening and hopefully thinking about it anyway.
Any other questions from the council? Any questions from the city staff?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for your...
Thank you, I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Ms. McVeigh.
Okay, moving on to item number 8, update and possible action on utility services policy adjustment process. Mr. Elliott, would you like to address this one?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The mayor and I have recently met with staff trying to get a current update to facilitate this policy. One thing that we're wanting to look at is there are some questions that are being raised by the frontline staff that deal with this to kind of get a little bit better answers of how to handle it. And so one thing I recommended to the mayor is, since we're going to be having a lot of budget work sessions over the next couple months, is before the next meeting, if we could maybe agenda this to have staff to be able to come in, talk with council to make sure that we're all on the same page with this, and also to be able to provide kind of a financial forecast so we're aware of the possible revenue impact and those types of things. And the mayor seemed agreeable with that, and that's what this evening we wanted to bring to you guys if y'all were open to moving in that direction.
Okay. Let's start over here.
I would be open for that. Yes, sir.
Jesse?
Yeah, I'll be open. In fact, I want to make a motion as soon as you talk to everyone else.
Okay.
More information, more time to think about it, it's always good.
I like the idea of all of us being on the same page. That way, no matter who you talk to, you get the same answer.
The only comment I'd like to make before you make your motion, I felt like the several discussions that we've had in the last couple of meetings, I walked away not feeling comfortable that I really understood what the policy was. I think I got most of it, but I thought it was a little complicated. So I think anything that we can do to try to get it a little clearer, a little more concise, would be helpful. You want to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the motion I had previously made be rescinded until we can discuss this and come back with possibly a little more clarity in the motion.
Okay, and I got to ask a question. Deborah, we had a motion at a previous meeting and we voted on it,
Correct,
so it was a completed action.
correct.
Can we go back now and undo that?
What was the motion?
The motion at the previous meeting was made by Mr. Byers, and it specified, I'm trying to, if I can get it.
Previous 2 months.
Can we try it?
Do it.
Okay, my motion was basically, we were having problems with people having
Leakages.
water breaks in their, within their, on their side of the meter. And I had made it, and we discussed it, I had made a motion to the effect that once a year, if somebody had a problem and they could show that they had an actual problem, not just come in and say, I watered my lawn too much. And I made a motion to that effect that we would adjust their payment one time a year on that. And apparently there's, that, my motion wasn't clear enough or didn't carry enough detail with it. And what I'd like this motion to do is rescind it so that, and reopen it at another meeting where I can have a motion that has clarity and was understood by everyone. So can we?
Yeah, I understand. Under this caption, I would recommend we not do that today, and that the staff have an opportunity to recapture this item so that we can address rescinding the motion.
Okay, then I'm sorry?
Make a motion to table it?
Yeah, I might make a motion, we table item number 8.
Until it can be...
Take back the original motion.
Okay, so we have a
So I make a
motion.
motion to table number 8, item 8.
I second.
There's a motion and a second to table item number 8. Any discussion? Todd?
No discussion.
Anybody down here?
Good.
No discussion? All those in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. I think it passed 5-0 to table. 5-0. Okay. Moving on to item number 9, discussion and appropriate action on approving an agreement to engage Clay Binford of the firm Norton Rose Fulbright as special counsel to represent the city in its negotiations of a development agreement with Highway 90 Partners Limited. I'll ask Mr. Elliott to introduce this topic, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. This is brought as a housekeeping measure with what is occurring on the east side of our city limits. The mayor and I had looked whether we had officially appointed the firm to represent us, and they de facto have, and so Clay, Mr. Byers, has brought to us a formal agreement spelled out stating that they will represent the city for this, and clearly spelling out who pays actually for the work, and it's the developer who would pay for that. So there's no expense to the city, and staff would recommend approval. It's a housekeeping measure.
Okay. Before we discuss it, just for the benefit of the audience, what we had in our package is an engagement agreement, a proposed engagement agreement that lays out the terms for this agreement. And attached to that engagement agreement was a very detailed set of documents called Additional Terms of Engagement. It's quite lengthy. Everybody on the City Council has had an opportunity to read it. And so at this time, I'll open with Ms. Martinez if anybody has any questions or discussion.
I don't have anything.
Paul?
Mr. Binford has proven his worth to us already in a pro bono capacity. I'm sure that when he's paid for it, he'll do just as well. That's all I have.
Yes, ma'am.
I have no questions on it. I've read it. All look pretty straightforward.
Myself, I'm good.
Speaking for
Yes.
myself,
No, I'm sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Clay Binford, I believe, would like to speak if he could.
Mr. Binford.
For the record, Clay Binford with Norton Rose Fulbright. I have been to enough of these to know that when the vote is going the way that you think it's going to, you don't want to interject yourself. So I'm breaking my own rule here, but I just want to tell you all that I thank you for this. This is really putting in paper what we've been working under the construct that we're here to do the best that we can for the city, representing the city at no cost to the city. So there's not going to be, if nothing materializes from any of these discussions, you will not be presented with a bill for my services. That's at risk to me, and that's the deal that we take. That's what our understanding when we start with the representation. So happy to answer any questions, but want you to know that I'm here as a resource and hopefully continuing in a very robust and as an advocate for the city to make sure that we deliver the best that we can. So thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Binford from the City Council?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Binford. And speaking only for myself, I mean, I've only been on the City Council for a little over a year, and Mr. Binford started working on this project long before that. He's done a tremendous service for the city, and he's given us a product that helps us as a council to understand all the intricate details of what we're going to be voting on in terms of what we vote with regard to the agreement. So this is a very important piece of housekeeping, and if there's anybody on the City Council that would like to entertain a motion, I'd be happy to receive it.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to move that we approve the agreement engagement with Clay Binford to represent the city in its negotiations of a development agreement with the Highway 90 Partners Limited.
Anybody
Second the
like
motion.
to second? Okay, Jesse seconded. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Not being any discussion, all those in favor of approving the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. I hear 5 ayes and 0 nays. The motion passes. Moving on to item number 10.
Clock off.
Thank you, Clay.
Thank you, Clay.
City Council will receive testimony on a petition for annexation of a tract of land totaling 9.81 acres, more or less, adjacent and contiguous to the Castroville city limits and located on the south side of US Highway 90 near its easterly intersection with FM 471 in Medina County, Texas. So I guess the first order of business is to ask, would anyone in the audience like to testify with regard to this request? There not being any citizens that wish to testify, I'll turn secondly to the staff and to the city attorney. Is there anything that you need to say or would like to say?
Well, yeah, just briefly. First of all, I don't recall, did you announce the time of the public hearing for the record? I just don't recall.
Maybe you did.
Oh, I should have announced that. I thank you for the correction. I think I started at about 6:26.
Oh.
Thank you. That's when it started.
So if you recall, you have a development agreement with Security State Bank. And in the development agreement, one of the terms was that Security State Bank would petition to have their property annexed into the city. And that paragraph of the development agreement actually serves as the petition. And the trigger was the one-year anniversary of the development agreement. That's passed. So what we're asking you to do tonight, under the statute, under chapter 43 of the Texas Local Government Code, is one, conduct this public hearing, and then we're going to ask that you decide whether or not you want to grant that petition. If you decide, no, we don't want to grant the petition, that ends everything, and they're not going to be annexed under that development agreement. But if you move and approve the granting of the petition, that will start the annexation process. The next thing that will happen is Deborah will announce 2 other public hearings that you will have to have on the ordinance annexing the property. And city staff will develop a service plan. We have a recommended service plan, but staff may want to consider. So that's going to be a few months. I'm not sure what's the end date that we have.
Tentatively, it's the first meeting in September.
So we'll have 2 public hearings, and then the first meeting in September, we will bring an ordinance to you annexing the property, and you will have a final decision whether or not you do want to receive the property into the city.
I do have one. Can I ask a question? Looking on our agenda packet here, it says that the development agreement was entered into on May 15, 2015, and the last sentence says the annex process was to take place no earlier than 48 months from the effective date. Is that the effective date, the 15th, or is it the effective date that we...
The effective date was the 2015.
So it's not when we approved this 48 months later. So we're not talking 8 total years, we're just talking 4, correct?
4 years.
Okay, all right. I just wasn't sure what date we were talking about
Yeah,
there.
I think I caused part of that error because I said a year, and it actually was 4 years.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Sheena?
No, this was discussed in detail at the P&Z meeting I attended, and everything made sense at that one.
Annexing commercial property into our city limits, especially at this location, can't do anything but benefit us, so I'm all for it.
Anything else?
I agree with Councilman Carey.
Okay. For clarification, we slipped from item 10 into item 11. As Mr. Durkin pointed out, I failed to close the public hearing, so we're in item 11, which is the discussion part.
How did you close it?
I closed it at 6:27. I started it at 6:26 and closed at 6:27. Okay. Question. I had a couple of questions. This plot of land, for many of you that may not be familiar with what we're talking about, is the Security Services Bank between the veterinarian and the mobile home park on Highway 90 as you're going east.
Security State.
Security State, thank you. Starts on Highway 90 and goes south all the way down to 471. My question that maybe you can clarify for me, it says approximately 9.8 acres, and 2.5 acres are used for the bank. And in the drawings that we got, it says that 2.5 acres will be for the bank, and the remainder will be for future development, depending on how it's zoned. The specific question I have is, it talks about they have a sewage system, which I'm presuming is a septic system, that's operational now for the bank. Is it within that 2.5 acres of land, is the sewage system in there? Or does any of it go into the other 7 acres that are going to be developed?
I don't have an absolute location.
The engineer just left.
He just left.
Oh, he just left. I'm sorry, the engineer just left.
The engineer for the project engineer was here.
He was just here.
Could you clarify for us, first identify who it is?
John, I don't know if you're sure or not.
They're not here.
Oh, he's not here.
He just left.
John, can you clarify for us?
Yeah, my understanding that it's in the lot, I guess the lot that's on that.
It's
The lot with the bank?
The septic system.
Oh, yeah, it would have to be inside the 2
The
acres.
part that's confusing, we see the whole picture, and I know they're going to draw a line across there and say the north part's the bank, the bottom part's going to be commercial or something. And I just want to get an assurance that the septic system is in that north part.
I think by code, they had to have the septic system on the 2.4 acres
Okay.
where they built the bank.
Then that answers my question.
That would be my assumption, but I would, yes.
Okay? And I think that's the only question that I have. So,
John's got something else.
John.
My first line is reviewing their sewage plan, or their design right now. The engineer's design for
Okay, so you're going over all of the details of that. Okay. Okay, are there any other questions or
I
discussion?
got one while John's standing up. I mean, would it be a no-brainer that we're going to, in the annexation process, we're going to hook them up to the sewer system?
Yes, sir.
Right, okay.
The remainder of the lot, right?
Everything.
No, not everything. It's very specific in the agreement that the bank stays on the septic, or the system they have now.
And I haven't seen the plans.
That's what it states in this proposed ordinance, that the system they have now gets our approval by virtue of this process to stay in operation, but the remaining 7 acres, all of it's going to get hooked to city water, but the remaining 7 acres will also have to get city sewer services for the lower half of the 9.8 acres. Because this septic system that's being used now is permanent, and it's going to stay there. That answers your question? That's what it says.
That's not the answer I was looking for, but yeah, it answers my question.
And that is until they choose otherwise, I would imagine. If they choose to connect at some future date, if their system needs repair, that could be done.
Okay.
And Mayor Pro Tem, if I could provide, this property is contiguous to the city limits, and if there's an issue in this area, our police are naturally going to respond. So the one good thing with the annexation, there will be some utilities come on board, but the key is you will get some property tax and some other things also to help with those services. So to me, anytime you have a property that's contiguous, it's very easy to recommend annexation for that.
Okay. All right, so all the discussion, there's no more discussion. Is there anyone wish to propose any action to move this petition forward?
I'm sorry, would you mind reading the agenda item?
Here's the agenda item.
Number 11.
Number 11, discussion and appropriate action on the grant or denial of a petition for the annexation of a tract of land totaling 9.81 acres more or less, adjacent and contiguous to the Castroville city limits and located on the south side of US 90 near its easterly intersection with FM 471 in Medina County, Texas. Anyone wish to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I move to grant the petition for annexation and direct staff to prepare a service plan and provide notifications to set public hearings to allow City Council to initiate annexation proceedings.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion on this topic before we vote? Any discussion from the city? Okay. All those in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No nays. It's approved 5-0. Okay. Moving on to item number 12. Discussion and appropriate action on a request for a variance for signage to be installed at the Changing Seasons Assisted Living Center. Mr. Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. On July 10th of this year, the Planning and Zoning Commission made a unanimous recommendation for approval for a variance. If you're familiar with this property where it's located, the geographical barriers create major challenges to be able to see actually what is located there, and the signage exceeds the zoning recommendation for signage, but what created the demand for the increase in signage is the unique structure of the lot, location, and the topographical differences. And the Planning Commission agreed with city staff for the recommendation for the variance for this property.
Thank you very much. Questions from the council?
No, I attended this meeting as well. In the area, it sits right behind the Alsace Hotel at the top, and so if you wouldn't know it's there, really. So the sign will benefit them some, but they still would like the sign, and it won't block the view of vehicles coming, because that is a goofy intersection as well, because the stop sign coming from River Bluff and the other side has right-of-way. It won't block any of that view. So there's no safety issues or anything like that.
Paul?
I can see the need for this size variance because of the distance that they would be off of Highway 90 and the fact that that's their focus, so I'm in support.
Jesse?
I agree with Paul. The only thing I think they need to do is make sure that, unless I'm wrong, they need to get the flags on the
And
correct
the other side of the, yeah. The flags are on the wrong side.
Anyway, yeah, no, I've been out there. I can definitely see where this is needed, and it looks like it's going to be a very nice addition. No problem.
Mr. Elliott, what are the variances? Is it the height or the size or both? Or?
It's actually both.
Really?
I would say the size overall, it exceeds the height and the width. It's almost, I would say it's almost double.
6 by 12 sign.
Yes, sir.
32 square feet.
Yes, sir.
You have the variance in your packet on what they requested.
72 out of 36 feet.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
72 out of 36 feet.
No.
I didn't have any questions on it. I think since the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval and the city staff recommends approval, I believe we've done everything that we should do in due diligence, and I support it.
If I may, if this council is going to approve the variance, could you have Council Member Martinez's statements as the findings? You're required to have written findings, and listening to the discussion, Councilwoman Martinez's comments were consistent with what the Planning and Zoning Commission. So just so you're compliant with your ordinance, if you don't have any objection.
So we'll consider Ms. Martinez's statement to be a finding in support of the variance. And if we have a recording of it, we can get it in there word for word if we need to. Okay. You object to that?
No,
Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, anyone that would like to make a
I
motion?
have a question. Mr. Habib, the findings of the Planning and Zoning Commission are in this packet.
Right, but my recollection is that your code says that the council has to make findings. as well.
Okay, very
I just
good.
want to make sure you're in compliance with that.
Very good. Thank you. That's all.
Any other comments or questions? Would anyone care to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve this and let it proceed on.
Second.
All seconds. There's a motion and a second in favor of approving the request for variance for signage to be installed at the Changing Seasons Assisted Living Center All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I hear 5 ayes. The request is approved. Moving on to item number 13. Update and appropriate action on a funding request for the 175th Founders Day celebration from Citizens Committee. And this is an item that I'm going to introduce. I was appointed by the mayor to be the city council liaison to this Citizens Committee of about 12, maybe even more than 12 people that have been participating for 3 weeks on working on a plan for a celebration of the 175th anniversary of the city's Founders Day, which will occur on September the 12th, 2019, which is the anniversary of when the first city council met, and then followed on the following Saturday, which is September the 14th, with an all-day slate of activities that are spread out all around the city. The commission or the committee asked me to make the following statement for tonight's meeting. Since the last update that the City Council received from Priscilla Garrett on July the 9th, the Citizens Committee has met twice to advance the planning for both the September 12th special City Council meeting in the Landmark Inn and the September 14th citywide 175th Founders Day celebration. They are working to complete all the long lead time items that require early ordering and payment. They have asked me to request that the City Council approve $5,000 to defray the cost of advertising, 2 highway banners, numerous posters, and a great deal of printing costs, as well as prizes that will be given to the children who participate in the Passport program, and other giveaways that will be passed out at the 7 different sites around the city in the course of the day. I therefore move to approve an amount not to exceed $5,000 to defray expenses for the 175th Castroville Founders Day celebration on September 12th and 14th, 2019.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think you can make that motion, but I'll make it in your stead.
Okay, I thought I could, but I stand corrected. Paul makes the same motion?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a second from Todd. Okay, open for discussion before we vote. Any questions?
Quick question. On the discussion, it says, also asking City Council to approve a contingency of $2,500. Is that?
That was the earlier version that was removed.
Okay.
That was there's been a lot of changes made this week, believe me.
Okay.
The ink is barely dry in what I read.
Not a problem. I appreciate it.
But I would like to point out that Priscilla made a commitment to the City Council at the July 9th meeting that when the plans were completed, that she would come back to the City Council with a PowerPoint presentation with pictures and all the appropriate detailed information so we can get a much better understanding of what we're being asked to pay for. It's essential that we ask now because there's long lead times for all of these purchases. And if we don't order them, we won't get them in time.
Yes, sir.
But you will get them.
Mayor Pro Tem, these funds would be coming out of the hotel occupancy tax, which are earmarked for these types of purposes, and our fund balance is in good enough shape to handle this.
Funds are available.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Okay, well,
There's been,
at first I was getting ready to vote no because I've been told all along that we're broke, we're out of money, so forth. But we do, until you mentioned that clarified that up. That takes care of my objection to it. And we do have plenty of money there then for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then if that's the case, then I don't have a problem with it.
any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve $5,000 to defray expenses for the 175th Castroville Founders Day celebrations on September 12th and 14th, 2019. All those in favor, please say aye.
Can you make add to that motion that it specifies that it comes from the hotel motel
Okay.
tax?
We have a motion to amend. We have to deal with that first.
Second that
There's a motion to amend, and we have a second to amend to state that this money must come out of the hotel motel tax. Is there any discussion on that amendment? We will vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. I hear 5-0 on ayes, so the amendment is passed. So now the statement for the motion will have to be modified to add the phrase, provided
Funding comes from the...
funds come from the hotel motel tax.
Correct.
Any discussion? Would you like to restate your motion?
No, sir.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve these funds not to exceed $5,000 to defray expenses for the Castroville Founder's Day celebrations on September 12th and 14th, provided the funds come from the hotel tax. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. 5 ayes, no nays, the motion is passed. Okay, moving on to item 14. Item 14 on the agenda is an executive session. I'll read what the executive session was to be about, and then we'll discuss a new development. In accordance with Texas Governmental Code Section 551071, entitled Consultation with Attorney, City Council shall convene an executive session to receive legal advice from the city attorney regarding a notice of application to amend a certificate of convenience and necessity to provide water utility services in Medina and Frio counties, Texas, filed by the Yancey Water Corporation. We had planned to go into executive session. Our city attorney is here. However, this afternoon, late in the afternoon, the mayor rescinded this item from the agenda and would like it not to be discussed tonight. So I would ask the council, are there any objections to the request from the mayor to rescind this item?
Well, I'd like to know why.
I can only tell you what she said.
Do we know why?
Do you have any new information?
We met with the mayor on Monday, a couple weeks ago, and then also Monday of this week, and discussed the ability of the city to be able to provide water if we did petition to fight Yancey's expansion of the CCN. One thing the Public Works Director and I expressed to her, we currently are having issues to provide water on Highway 90 and also to the hill area where the hotel and the assisted living development is. And so the rationale from us is we're having challenges right now providing water to the city. It'd be very difficult to expand right now and then go to court per legal counsel, as we're discussing, to state that we can provide water and provide a better case.
So in other words, you're saying don't add challenges to more challenges?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good for me. That answers it.
Okay. So if there are no objections from anyone on council, then this item is rescinded for today. Do I have to vote on it? I don't think I do. It's been pulled.
And that takes out
That also
16.
removes item number 15, which was reconvene in open session,
And 16.
item 16 to discuss possible item. So those items are all rescinded. We'll move on to item number 17, discussion of future agenda items. To start with, Todd, do you have any?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Jesse?
I'd like to have a report on the progress of selecting a police chief.
Okay.
I'll save any items until we're through with budget.
Okay. You have no in Sheena?
Same, wait for budget.
Okay, I've got that noted, and I guess that is the last item. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Move to adjourn.
I second it.
The time.
Done, Mr. Chairman.
The time.
We will adjourn at 6:52.
Thank you.
Very good.